So I tried to talk about this during the live stream yesterday, and I mentioned I would make a video specifically on it just so that I didn't tie up too much time on it. But one of the things that it's really tough, especially in the early stages of this, is trying to see how things will actually get better. There was a person who left a comment basically saying that. It's like, okay, everyone says it gets better, but it's not, how can it get better because it's horrible? Basically, that's a summarized version. And that question got me to really start thinking about the early stages of my situation and the journey that I've gone through getting to this point. And, as I was trying to answer the question in the comments, I could tell that it wasn't really, I didn't feel that I was able to really communicate appropriately or accurately on this. And as I was going back and forth through this, I started thinking about how I was feeling in the early stages of this. And I felt exactly that same way. I felt that my entire future had been destroyed. My financial security was gone. My credit rating was gone. Everything that I had spent the previous 20 plus years working for was in shambles. Then I was stuck with, the family court system ordering me to do things that I didn't necessarily think that were right. And it just was one of those things where it felt really depressing and oppressive. And back then, I didn't see a future. I didn't see even a possibility of things getting better. I've mentioned in other videos, and I've mentioned this in comments, that a lot really hasn't changed from when those initial orders were pressed, I guess. When the divorce was final and we were at 50-50 and I was ordered to pay what I was ordered to pay and the assets were all divided, the situation hasn't changed much. I'm still paying, minus the fact that my son's dropped off, but everything's still the same. Custody's still the same, haven't moved. My financial situation is basically the same. And in some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse, depending on how you look at it. Technically, I guess it's a little bit better, but the thing is that where I am today, I couldn't even see a possibility of feeling the way I feel today 4 or 5 years ago. And to be honest, I think if somebody, if my future self, was talking to me, I don't know if I would believe it. I don't know if somebody was saying to me, hey, in a couple of years, you're going to get through the stages of grief on this. You're going to get over your anger. You're going to it's not going to bother you as much, and you're going to change your focus and your priorities on different things, and it won't matter. And I don't know if I would have believed them. So I'm wondering, when I'm saying that to you, are you stuck in that same mode? Are you like, well, what the hell? How can I ever get, I'm not going to, no, I'm not going to get over this because this is wrong. It is wrong. It's financially devastating. It is financially devastating. And it's weird, right? One of the things that I gravitated towards early on, I guess I had a choice to make. I had a choice to either give up and, just accept defeat, or basically get angry and say, you're not going to break me. This is not going to define the rest of my life. I am not going to be a slave to you for the rest of my life. And maybe you're feeling that now, and maybe a little bit more anger into it. And that was the initial turning point, right? Now that mode still has a lot of anger and bitterness and just basically raw perseverance to continue. And I was in that stage for quite a while. It was like, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through, all the ransom and all the payments, and, it's going to turn around. And to be honest, that was hard. In my situation at that time, the first kid would drop off in 5 years, or a little less than 5 years. But, from the whole thing, from the divorce, 5 to 5.5 years. And that seems like an eternity, especially whenever in my situation, and some of you can relate to this. I was in my early 40s on this, and it's like, oh my God, by the time the last kid drops off, I'm going to be in my 50s. And that was tough. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to start living this is the mindset that I was in at the early stage of this. I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to live my life for another, 8? Was it 8 years? 6 plus, I'm trying to do the math, but my youngest is 11 now. So so 6 years plus to get her off. So so another 7. So that's 13 years, 13 to 14 years. I'm going to be in neutral, in limbo for 14 years, paying this person. Oh man, I was bitter. I was angry. Like I said, I channeled that anger into you're not going to break me. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to be okay. I mentioned on the live stream yesterday that I went through a phase where I was like that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start living my life. And I started doing stuff with the kids. Started, buying stuff, started doing things, start basically running myself into debt. And I did that for a while, thinking, and honestly, I was thinking, okay, she's going to finally start working. Things will calm down. I'll be able to pay it down. But I'm tired of just being, stuck, and I'm not going to allow it anymore. And what happens is it's a slow shift. Your priorities and your views change. I'm to the point now where it's like, okay, I've, run out of money. I have a bunch of debt. It's going to take me a long time to pay it off. But it's not about the money anymore, right? I've gone through this transition by learning about what she is and what the situation is, and then learning or creating, I guess, the techniques, and then implementing those techniques has really changed my outlook on life. It's helped me to build a better relationship with my kids. It's to the point now, it's really weird, but I mentioned this last night. I get up, and most of the time throughout the day, I'm just like, man, things aren't too bad. Yeah, they could be better, right? But I don't even think that anymore. I'm not thinking about the amount of money I'm paying her. When I talk to you guys about it, or if it comes up in conversation, but it doesn't. It's a transition that's happened to where it's like I go through this phase, not this phase, but this process where it's like, I don't want to waste my energy on that anymore. I don't want to be, to be bitter, like actively bitter and angry about it, because it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't do anything good for me. If I can focus on, looking at a future, and it's really crazy because I can distinctly remember going through a time where I felt that I had no future, that I felt I'm going to be working until I'm in the grave. That could be true. I don't know, but like intrinsically, I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like my future is going to be good. I feel like I'm making good progress with my kids. Even though we have these backslides, it's like they're short-lived. I mean, just briefly, I was mentioning the whole change that was kind of happening in the demeanor with my kids towards Debbie and stuff like that after the vacation and all the triangulation and everything that's been going on. And this weekend, I had my youngest who wanted to hang out with Debbie and sleep on a trampoline and watch the stars. And literally wanted to do it. It wasn't like, hey, why don't you go do this? it had come up as an idea. And then later, the next day she's like, I really want to do that. And I'm like, you seriously? You really, really? Yeah. And Debbie came and they spent a great time together. And then she didn't even want to come back. She wanted to hang out with her. And that's the thing. It's like everything starts to shift. Once I was able to get a handle on that anger and that bitterness and channel that to something different, it started to make a big difference. And it's not just this channel. Someone made a comment about, well, this channel is therapeutic, which it is, right? I do really enjoy doing this, but I was feeling this way before I started to do this. I think when I got to the point where I felt that I was in a place to where I could do this in a positive way and not be stuck on that anger, not be stuck on that bitterness, that's when I decided to make the channel. Now, the earlier videos, I may have looked a little run down. Sometimes I was making those videos at like 2 o'clock in the morning, which was really a bad idea. But when you get kind of passionate on something and you want to put that message out there, sometimes you make decisions that aren't quite the greatest ones. And, as a result, there were times where if you'll watch some of the older videos, I look pretty disheveled. And that's partly the result of it. I was really focused on trying to spend every moment I could to create content for this channel. And I guess what I'm saying is even back then when I may have not looked my greatest, I was still feeling pretty good. Sometimes I'll tap into those old emotions just to try to remind myself what I was going through, because I'm pretty darn sure that a lot of you are going through that right now. And I know how I felt. I know how lost I felt. I know how what this person said, I felt the exact same thing. That's why it really hit me when I got that message, that question. It's like, how does everything get better? Everyone says it gets better. How does it get better? And it gets better because you finally get so tired of being angry and being angry at the system and angry at your ex and angry at your kids, for being surrogates. And you just say, F it. You know what? I'm sick of it. And that's what happened with me. I'm like, I'm sick of it. I don't want to think about her anymore. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want my life back. And how do I get it back? Well, one, I decided that life that I had before was done. It wasn't coming back. That future that I envisioned for myself wasn't my future anymore because it was destroyed. But that didn't mean that I couldn't have a future. And as things have progressed, things have progressively gotten better. And I don't know. I don't know if you're sitting there watching this right now and you're in the early stages of this and you're asking that question, if I can connect with you on that and say, I know where you're at. I've been there. And it's not like something significantly changed in the external, on the outside. It's not like she was held accountable. It's not like the court changed their mind and gave me all my money back. It's not like I got full custody. It was a fundamental shift within me where I changed. I reduced and eliminated that chaos out of my life. And it all started falling together. And I really think that that's going to happen for you. And I really hope that you can see that. I hope that you can look at it and go, instead of going, you're full of crap, you can go, okay, maybe he's got a point. This guy is saying he went through the same thing. He lost. And if you read the message I responded to that guy, I forgot what the numbers were. They were pretty bad of how much money was lost. But, lost a lot. He's been fighting for years with his kids. And he's happy? Well, either he's on some drug, which I'm not, minus muscle relaxers, but that doesn't count. Maybe you can look at that and say, okay, I'm really angry right now. And I really feel like there's no future. And this guy is saying that there is. So maybe you'll believe it. Maybe you'll think about it and say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll keep watching these silly videos and I'll see if maybe there's something there. Because I think there's something there. I think you're going to get yourself back, and I think you're going to change the way you look at this. And you're going to realize some of the things that you thought would make you happy before weren't real, and your whole environment's going to shift. And guys, this isn't even about me getting in a relationship with Debbie, because before I met her, I was feeling basically like this. Now, I'll admit that once I started going out with her and the ex found out and, upped the game, with child support services and stuff like that, was a sucker punch. And I didn't understand narcissism at the time, so I wasn't expecting it. But even at that point, I was feeling better about my life. And I hope that you can see the possibility that you're going to get there, that you're going to be able to hunker down and get through this and make some make some decisions not to make it worse, and be able to get where I'm at. I really think that you have every opportunity to do that, and be honest, that's like the best. I don't know, being vengeful and stuff isn't a great way to be, but honestly, I mean, if you can get your life back and you can be fundamentally happy no matter what your ex is pulling, you're winning. It's like you're basically saying, you know what? You don't mean anything to me. You tried to discard me and you made me feel like crap, and you've taken everything you thought was important, but just being away from you is making me happy, right? There's a bunch of different ways to think about it. I don't know. Honestly, I would really like your guys' thoughts on this, because I haven't thought about this topic in a while. And sometimes I'm concerned that I'm disconnecting from the beginning stages of this to where I'm at, and not able to basically run the thread between the two. And I hope that I am, and I would really appreciate your feedback to let me know if I'm on the mark or if I'm missing something, because this message is critically important. Because if you're at that stage, if I'm talking to you right now, you're stuck in that mode. And I'm trying to think of a way to help kickstart you out of it, jumpstart you, to get you moving, so that you don't have to take the 2.5, 3 years that it took me to get to the point where I was starting to feel better on this. Okay, so on that, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, if you want to add to the conversation, please do that in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to jump on the newsletter, please go to the website, dadsurvivingdivorce.com, and sign up for the newsletter and the forum. And I will chat with you on the next video. So take care. Bye.